Dad, I keep passing out at work. The doctors can't figure out why. My daughter's voice was shaking when she called me that Tuesday morning. I was in my garage, working on restoring a 1967 Mustang. But the moment I heard the tremor in Jennifer's words, I dropped my wrench and grabbed my phone with both hands. What do you mean passing out? How many times? I asked, already walking toward my truck. 3 times this week. Yesterday, I collapsed right in the pharmacy. Dad, I'm scared. My blood sugar keeps dropping even though I'm taking my insulin exactly as prescribed. I'm a pharmacist. I know what I'm doing, but nothing makes sense. I was already backing out of my driveway. Jennifer lived 45 minutes away in downtown Denver, but I'd make it in 30. Have you told Kyle? There was a pause. Too long of a pause. He says I'm being paranoid, says I'm probably just stressed about the new promotion. That pause, that hesitation. After 32 years investigating financial crimes for the IRS, I'd learned to read silences better than most people read words. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. Something was very, very wrong. I'm Robert Sullivan. I'm 62 years old, and I spent 3 decades following money trails, uncovering fraud, and putting white-collar criminals behind bars. I've seen people do terrible things for money. Spouses betraying each other, children stealing from parents, business partners destroying lives. But you never think it'll touch your own family. You never think you'll need those skills to protect your own daughter. I should have seen it coming. The signs were all there. 3 months ago, Kyle had suddenly become very interested in Jennifer's health, kept insisting she get a full physical, update her will, increase her life insurance. At the time, I thought he was just being a responsible husband. Jennifer had recently been promoted to lead pharmacist at Denver General, making nearly $200,000 a year. Kyle was a hospital administrator at a different facility, pulling in about the same. They were a successful young couple. Planning for the future made sense. But now, hearing the fear in my daughter's voice, those responsible actions took on a darker meaning. I pulled up to their townhouse in Cherry Creek 28 minutes later. Kyle's BMW was in the driveway. He should have been at work. I knocked, and Kyle opened the door, wearing gym clothes, looking surprised to see me. Robert, what are you doing here? Jennifer called. Said she's been passing out. Oh, that. He waved his hand dismissively. She's fine. Just needs to adjust her medication. You know how she gets anxious about health stuff. My daughter was a pharmacist with a doctorate degree. She didn't get anxious about health stuff. She understood health stuff better than most doctors. Where is she? Resting upstairs. But honestly, Robert, you didn't need to drive all the way here. I've got it under control. I pushed past him. I'll just look in on her. Jennifer was in bed, pale and sweating. When she saw me, she tried to smile, but I could see how weak she was. Hey, Dad, you didn't have to come. I sat on the edge of her bed, taking her hand. It was cold and clammy. Tell me exactly what's been happening. She glanced toward the door where Kyle was hovering, then back to me. I don't know. For the past 2 weeks, I keep having these hypoglycemic episodes. My blood sugar just crashes, even though I'm monitoring everything. I've been diabetic since I was 12. I know my body. This isn't normal. Have you changed anything? Diet? Exercise? Insulin brand? No. Well, she hesitated again. Kyle bought me a new insulin supply about 3 weeks ago. Said he got a good deal through his hospital connections. But it's the same brand I always use. Every instinct I had was screaming. I kept my voice calm. Where do you keep it? Downstairs in the fridge. Why? Just curious. You know me? Always methodical. I patted her hand. Get some rest. I'm going to make you some lunch. I went downstairs. Kyle was in the living room, on his phone. I went to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and found Jennifer's insulin. 3 vials, all from the same batch. I took my phone out and photographed the labels, the lot numbers, everything. Then I did something that 32 years of investigating financial crimes had taught me to do automatically. I looked at what was making money. Who benefited if Jennifer died? I pulled out my phone and called Marcus Chen, An old colleague who'd moved into private investigation after retiring from the IRS. Marcus, I need you to pull some records for me. Quietly. What's going on, Rob? My daughter's sick. Her husband's being weird about it. I need to know if there's any life insurance I don't know about. Give me names and social security numbers. I rattled off Jennifer and Kyle's information. And Marcus, check for any history on Kyle. Previous marriages, criminal records, lawsuits, anything. You think he's dirty? I think my daughter keeps passing out and her husband doesn't seem concerned enough. In my experience, when someone isn't worried about the right things, they're worried about getting caught. I made Jennifer some soup and toast, brought it upstairs, and watched her eat. Kyle came up once, offering to take over, but I told him I wanted to spend time with my daughter. He didn't argue, just went back downstairs. After Jennifer fell asleep, I left, but I didn't go home. I drove to a coffee shop 3 blocks away and waited for Marcus to call back. He called 40 minutes later. Rob, you're going to want to sit down. I'm already sitting. What did you find? Kyle Morrison has a $3 million life insurance policy on Jennifer. Took it out 2 months ago. She's the insured, he's the beneficiary. My blood went cold. $3 million? That's not all. Kyle was married before. Wife's name was Amanda. She died 18 months ago, diabetic, just like Jennifer. Died from complications related to hypoglycemia. I gripped my phone so hard my knuckles went white. How old was she? 31. And Rob. Kyle collected on a $2 million life insurance policy from her death. Jesus Christ, there's more. I pulled Kyle's financials. He's drowning in gambling debts. Owes about $400,000 to various creditors and some very unfriendly people in Las Vegas. His credit cards are maxed out. He's 3 months behind on the mortgage for the townhouse that's in Jennifer's name. The guy is desperate. I was already starting my truck. Send me everything you have. I'm going to the police. Rob, wait. What you have is circumstantial. A suspicious death 18 months ago in another state. Financial troubles. An insurance policy. That's not enough for an arrest. You need hard evidence. He was right. I knew he was right. In my years at the IRS, I'd seen dozens of cases fall apart because we moved too fast, before we had bulletproof evidence. Then I need to get evidence. Be careful. If Kyle is what you think he is, and he knows you're onto him, Jennifer's in more danger, not less. I drove back to Jennifer's townhouse. This time I parked down the street and waited. At 5:30, Kyle came out, got in his BMW, and drove away. I gave him 5 minutes, then let myself in with the spare key Jennifer had given me years ago. I went straight to Kyle's home office. The door was locked, but I'd learned a few things over the years. It took me about 90 seconds to pick it. His desk was covered with bills, credit card statements showing charges at casinos, past due notices from the mortgage company, collection letters. The man was buried in debt. I photographed everything. Then I found his laptop. It wasn't password protected, which told me he never expected anyone to look. I plugged in a thumb drive and started copying files. Financial documents, emails, everything. I was about to leave when I saw a folder labeled Insurance Docs. I opened it. There was the $3 million policy on Jennifer, and underneath it, another document. An email exchange with someone named Richard at an insurance company. Kyle asking about the claim process. Asking how long it typically took to pay out. Asking if there would be an investigation if the death was ruled natural causes. The emails were from 2 months ago, before Jennifer started getting sick. He'd been planning this. I copied everything, shut down the laptop, and got out of there. I was pulling away when Kyle's BMW turned onto the street. I ducked down, watched him park, go inside. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From rage. I drove straight to the Denver Police Department and asked for Detective Sarah Walsh. She'd worked with me on a fraud case 3 years ago. She was smart, thorough, and she trusted my instincts. When I showed her what I'd found, her expression darkened. This is bad, Rob. But we can't arrest someone for having debt and life insurance. His first wife died the same way. In Nevada. Different jurisdiction. And the death was ruled accidental. We'd need to prove this is a pattern. And we'd need physical evidence, that he's actually doing something to harm Jennifer now. What about the insulin? Can you test it? If we can legally obtain it, yes. But if you just grab it from their house, any defense attorney will get it thrown out. We need Jennifer's consent or a warrant. Get the warrant. Based on what? Your suspicions? A previous wife who died in another state from natural causes? Judge won't sign it, Rob. Not yet. I wanted to flip the desk over. So, what do I do? Wait for him to kill my daughter? Sarah leaned forward. No. You get Jennifer somewhere safe. You get her to voluntarily give us her insulin for testing. And you get her to file a police report about feeling unsafe. That gives us grounds to investigate further. Once we test that insulin, if it's been tampered with, we have him. And if he realizes she's on to him, that's why you move fast. Tonight. I called Jennifer from the parking lot. Honey, I need you to pack a bag and come stay with me for a few days. Dad, I'm fine. Really, I just need to rest. Jennifer, I'm asking you to trust me. Don't tell Kyle. Just pack a bag and leave. I'll explain everything when you get here. There was a long silence. Then, you found something, didn't you? My daughter was smart. She'd inherited that from her mother. Yes. And I need you safe before I can tell you what. Okay. Give me an hour. Kyle's going to the gym. I'll leave then. 53 minutes later, Jennifer's car pulled into my driveway. She looked terrified. I brought her inside, sat her down, and told her everything. She went white, then green, then ran to the bathroom and threw up. When she came back, her hands were shaking. His first wife. He told me she died in a car accident. He lied. He's been trying to kill me. Yes. She started crying. Not the soft tears of sadness, but the horrible, wrenching sobs of betrayal and fear and rage. I held my daughter while she broke apart, and I promised her what I'd been promising her since she was born. I'll protect you. I swear to God, Jennifer, I will protect you. The next morning, we went to the police station. Jennifer brought her insulin and filed a formal report. Detective Walsh sent the insulin to the lab with a rush order. The results came back in 6 hours. The insulin had been diluted with saline solution in 2 of the vials. The third vial had been replaced entirely with a concentrated insulin solution, nearly 3 times the normal strength. If Jennifer had used that vial, she would have gone into severe hypoglycemic shock. At home, alone, she would have died before anyone found her. "That son of a bitch," Walsh said, reading the report. He was killing her slowly with the diluted vials, making her think her diabetes was out of control, making her doubt herself. Then, when the time was right, he'd switch her to the concentrated vial. She'd inject it, thinking it was her normal dose, and she'd crash hard. By the time anyone found her, it would just look like a tragic accident. Diabetic woman who'd been having blood sugar problems took her insulin, and something went wrong. "Can you arrest him now?" "Oh, we're doing better than that." We contacted Nevada. They're reopening Amanda Morrison's death investigation. And Rob? Amanda's family kept her insulin vials. They're testing them now. How long before you bring Kyle in? We're getting the warrant now. Give us 2 hours. I took Jennifer home to my place. She sat on my couch, staring at nothing. "I loved him," she said quietly. "I trusted him. How did I not see it? Because he's done this before. He's practiced. Jennifer, this is not your fault." His first wife. Did she know? At the end? I don't know. Sweetheart, I hope she didn't. I hope she just thought she was sick. Because knowing Dad, knowing that someone you love wants you dead, that they've been planning it, that they've been lying to your face while they poison you, that's worse than dying. I sat beside her and put my arm around her. But you're not dying. You're alive. And he's going to pay for what he did to you and to Amanda and to whoever else he's hurt. My phone rang. Detective Walsh, we've got him. Arrested at his office. And Rob? Vegas PD just confirmed. Amanda's insulin was tampered with exactly the same way. He did this before. He practiced on his first wife, learned from it, and tried to do it better this time. What happens now? Now we build the case. We've got him on attempted murder, fraud, and we're coordinating with Nevada on murder charges for Amanda. The prosecutor thinks we can also get him on financial exploitation, Guys looking at life without parole? Good. Over the next 3 weeks, I watched the case unfold. Kyle's lawyer tried to claim the insulin tampering was an accident, that maybe Jennifer had grabbed the wrong vials from the hospital where she worked. That fell apart when the prosecution showed the vials had been purchased specifically by Kyle from a supplier he'd used before, not from Jennifer's hospital. Then they tried to argue Amanda's death was unrelated. That fell apart when Nevada investigators found emails between Kyle and a life insurance agent asking detailed questions about claim procedures just 2 weeks before Amanda died. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records showing Kyle's gambling debts. Testimony from Las Vegas casino employees who'd seen Kyle lose tens of thousands of dollars. Medical records showing both Amanda and Jennifer's hypoglycemic episodes started shortly after Kyle purchased their insulin. Expert testimony about how the insulin had been deliberately tampered with. And through it all, Kyle sat there in court, still trying to look like the concerned husband, still trying to play the victim. I testified about what I'd found, about the pattern I'd recognized, about the financial motive. The jury listened, taking notes, watching Kyle's reactions. When the prosecutor asked me why I'd gotten involved in investigating my son-in-law, I looked directly at Kyle and said, because 32 years investigating financial crimes taught me one thing. When someone stands to make money from another person's death, and that person suddenly starts dying, you follow the money. And the money trail led straight to him. Kyle's face flushed red. For the first time, I saw the mask crack, saw the rage underneath. You had no right, he hissed, loud enough for the jury to hear. She's my wife. This was none of your business. She's my daughter, I said calmly, and that makes it absolutely my business. The trial lasted 4 weeks. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Kyle got 40 years for the attempted murder of Jennifer and for financial exploitation. Nevada tried him separately and convicted him of first-degree murder in Amanda's death. That got him life without parole. The sentences would run consecutively. The judge, a woman in her 60s who'd been remarkably patient throughout the trial, had some final words at sentencing. Mr. Morrison, you are a predator. You targeted vulnerable women, gained their trust, married them, and then systematically murdered them for financial gain. You showed no remorse, no humanity, no conscience. The only reason Jennifer Sullivan is alive today is because her father recognized what you were doing. You underestimated him. You assumed that because he was retired, because he was just a concerned father, he wouldn't see through your carefully planned scheme. That was your fatal error. She looked at me then. Mr. Sullivan, your daughter is alive because you paid attention, because you trusted your instincts, because you spent 32 years learning to recognize predators. This court commends you for your diligence and your courage. After the sentencing, Jennifer and I walked out of the courthouse together into the Colorado sunshine. She'd lost weight during the trial, looked older than her 34 years, but she was alive. She was safe. What now? She asked me. Now you heal, you divorce him, you rebuild your life, and you never, ever doubt yourself again. I don't know if I can trust anyone again, Dad. You will. It'll take time, but you will. Because Jennifer, what happened to you wasn't about your judgment. It was about his evil. He's a practiced con artist who'd done this before. You didn't fail. You were targeted by a professional predator. She leaned against me. Thank you for seeing what I couldn't see. That's what fathers are for. 6 months later, Jennifer moved into a new apartment. She was seeing a therapist twice a week, working through the trauma. She'd taken a leave of absence from the pharmacy, needed time to heal both physically and emotionally. But she was laughing again, slowly, cautiously, but laughing. I helped her unpack boxes in her new place. When we were done, she made us coffee, and we sat on her balcony, looking out over Denver. I've been thinking about going back to school, she said, getting my pharmacy license to specifically work in toxicology, helping other people recognize when medications have been tampered with. That's a great idea. Amanda's family reached out to me. They want to start a foundation in her name, raising awareness about medical manipulation and intimate partner violence. They asked if I'd help. I smiled. Your mother would be so proud of you. Jennifer's mother, Catherine, had died from breast cancer when Jennifer was 18. Catherine had been a nurse, fiercely dedicated to helping others. If she'd been alive, she would have spotted Kyle immediately. She'd had great instincts about people. "I keep thinking about Amanda," Jennifer said quietly. "She didn't have anyone to protect her. No one questioned it when she died. Kyle just collected his money and moved on to find the next target. But because of you, there won't be a next target. You stopped him." "We stopped him, Dad." I raised my coffee cup. "To stopping the bad guys." She clinked her cup against mine. "And to dads who pay attention." That night, driving home, I thought about how close we'd come to losing Jennifer. If I hadn't picked up on that pause in her voice during that phone call, if I hadn't trusted my instincts, if I hadn't spent 3 decades learning to recognize patterns of fraud and manipulation. Kyle Morrison thought he was so smart, thought he'd perfected his system, thought a grieving, sick wife and her retired father would be easy marks. He assumed that because I wasn't actively investigating financial crimes anymore, my skills were somehow irrelevant. He saw what he wanted to see, a concerned father who could be dismissed, managed, deceived. He was wrong, because you don't stop being an investigator just because you retire. The skills don't disappear. The instincts don't fade. You don't forget how to read people, how to follow evidence, how to recognize when numbers don't add up and stories don't make sense. Kyle Morrison spent 2 years planning Jennifer's murder. He researched insulin dilution methods. He studied Amanda's case to learn from his mistakes. He carefully constructed his financial alibi. He thought he'd covered every angle. But he forgot one thing. He forgot that fathers protect their daughters, that some fathers have spent decades learning exactly how to hunt predators like him, that retirement doesn't erase experience, it just means you have more time to use it. Now he has the rest of his life in prison to think about that mistake. To remember the moment in that courtroom when he realized his carefully constructed plan had been torn apart by a 62-year-old retired investigator who paid attention when his daughter's voice shook during a phone call. Jennifer is alive. Kyle is in prison. Amanda's family has closure. Justice was served. And every time my phone rings and I hear Jennifer's voice strong, healthy, alive, I remember why I spent 32 years learning to recognize evil. Not just to punish it after the fact, but to stop it before it's too late. Some people think retirement means you're done, that your useful years are behind you, that you're just a dad, just a grandfather, just someone who tinkers with old cars in their garage. Kyle Morrison thought that too. He thought wrong. And that's the thing about underestimating people. When you assume someone is weak, powerless, or irrelevant just because they're older or retired, you stop being careful. You make mistakes. You get sloppy. Kyle got sloppy. I was paying attention, and my daughter is alive because of it.